Hello world, Alexandre Buckley here, and let's talk games. Now let's have some fun in this video. Let's have some real fun. Let's just imagine Sony came out of nowhere and just dropped the mic, and out of the dust they just come out and they say, we are announcing the mini version of the best games console of all time, the best selling games console of all time, the PlayStation 2. Now before we get loads of people kicking off and going mental, I completely understand it is not possible at this stage. This is just for fun. The key word being fun. The probability of them making a PlayStation 2 Mini is simply a pipe dream for many reasons. I mean, one, PS2 emulation isn't easy, and even with a top spec computer on the market, people struggle with it. So this is more of a in an ideal world. Let's just pretend they crack it. Let's just say they work it out and they find a way to take the best ever console made, find a way to compress it and shrink it down. Well, what games would you want on this PlayStation 2 Classic? I guess they'd call it the Classic, right? Because of the PlayStation Classic. They'd use that branding rather than the Mini. The Mini seems like another thing for other brands, but okay. So yeah, let's say they brand it the PlayStation 2 Classic. What games would you want on that list? So I had a thought about this. Had a chat with a few friends, and then we've come up with some games, and I wanted to share this list with you today just for fun, and I wanted to see what you guys think of it. So, without any further ado, here are the 20 games I would like on a PlayStation 2 Classic if it was ever to come out. So, what would they be? Well, let's start things off with number 20, Ridge Racer 5. This was a PS2 launch title, and it'd be the perfect place to start. It'd be nice to have a console that would showcase, an entire massive range of the console's overall library and lifespan. So I think a launch title would be a good idea, and to have one that was this good as well, like Ridge Racer, would be a great start. So I think this would be one of the first things I'd look for on the actual classic console if they did one. And Ridge Racing was one of the first racing games that I really got into when I started playing games. And at the time I thought the handling and the graphics were amazing. I mean, obviously it's dated by these days, but when you think about how important this title was, this is one of the first things you see on the games console and all the marketing, and then you play it, you realise it's actually really good. This is like a must-have on the games console. Number 19, Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2. Now I know people are already going, oh dear, he's gone off the rails already. He's only 2 entries in, he's gone mental. It's like, but you know what? Don't panic, don't worry. I dare you to find me a more fun parody of a sport. Now, I remember spending hours around a friend's house playing this exact game, and it was absolutely mental. It's an incredibly simple game, but it's done so well. It was just a case of a pick up and play game, and that was pretty much it. It was perfect for multiplayer. And you know what? If you're buying a classic console, one of the things you're going to want is a good multiplayer title. So you're going to need some of those games on it. And I can't think of a better distraction than a sports game that's also a parody that's not taking itself too seriously, and Ready to Rumble Boxing is the perfect title for that and one of the best games that you could play on the console. Number 18, Burnout 3 Takedown. Now I debated putting games like this on this list simply because, we have remasters and stuff. So it's debatable whether you should put remastered games on this list, but you know what, in my opinion, that's a different video anyway to go into whether remastered should be on classic consoles or not. And I think this is too good of a game to ignore anyway, so from my opinion, yes, it's another racing game, but what a game it is. And you know what, it's actually possible to play this game without doing any racing at all. In fact, that's kind of what I did when I purchased this game. I spent hours just playing this mode, this damage mode, where the sole purpose of the game was to drive as sanely fast as possible and cause as much damage in traffic as possible. Do not do this in real life, it is very dangerous, but I'm just saying, in the context of a game, it was amazingly good fun, because you spend different ways to try and clip things and all this other stuff. Very simple, but it's done to perfection. And again, it's another great multiplayer game. And if you're getting a classic console, one of the things you'd love to do is have good multiplayer. So I think this is one of those essential titles that you'd have to have on the console. Number 17, Resident Evil 4. I feel like this game pretty much at some point ended up on every single console ever made, ever. I mean, there's even a PS4 version. It's like a PS4 HD version I saw once, which, fine, I don't think they really did anything to it, they just kind of ported it, but whatever. I mean, this game took the series in a completely new direction. It has a stellar story, it has great tension, brutal kills and thrills, it's extremely fun, and it's got one of the most satisfying combat systems, and it does hold up a lot today. It's just a shame really about the camera, that's the only sort of downside of this one, but again, I'd love it on my my classic console if I had a choice. Number 16, Gran Turismo 4. Now pretty much I associate Gran Turismo with Sony and the brand overall. It's normally the game they trot out just to kind of show off how powerful the new console is, and this is why you should buy it, because look at it, it's got all these hundredly beautiful cars all recreated and crafted to this insane detail, and has all this great like minuscule details, and it really does show off the horsepower of a new console, which fair enough, and this game is one of those games that it does do that. It does show off the power of PS2 at the time, and it did have loads of cars, hundreds of cars in it, and they were all beautifully recreated, but it is such a rewarding game to play. The handling was amazing and the gameplay was great, and it's just good fun. And you know what, I'm not even into racing games, which is funny because I think I've now put 3 on this list, but you know what, when the games are this good you can't really ignore them. And again, works with multiplayer, which is another key thing. If you have a classic console, you need those multiplayer games on it, otherwise it's just going to sit on your shelf once you finish all the single player modes and you're kind of done with it, so you need a bit of range in that. So for my money, I know we're only sort of 4 in here, but you know, another great game. Gran Turismo 4 has to be on the platform. Number 15, Bully. Now, this is not GTA in a school, even though that's what it's labelled by every single media outlet at the time. Rockstar proved they're not one-trick ponies and created a brand new IP that shares similar elements from all of the other previous titles that came out at the time, but they put an interesting little twist on the open world formula, and the story in this game and the acting in this game is phenomenal. It's so good. Yeah, it's a little bit cliche, but that's kind of the point, as they're parodying certain things, so you have to keep that in mind. And it just can't be ignored how big of an impact this game actually had. I mean, even to this day, there are people that are begging Rockstar to make a sequel. They're desperate for a sequel to come out, and there's a reason they're desperate for it, because the game was so good. In fact, you can buy the digital versions of this on your phone, and it's amazing. I recommend everyone who's missed this game to play that, because it's such good fun, and I'd love this to be on a classic console if they ever got around to doing one. Number 14, Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. Now, this game took what Tomb Raider started and just raised the absolute bar on this. You can rewind time to undo your mistakes. I mean, this is ridiculous. Platforming and puzzling had never been this good before. I remember when this first came out, nothing could touch these titles. They were beasts of games that created their own fandom all by themselves. We had beautiful worlds and environments, and there's this great difficulty level that is challenging, but it's kind of respectful to your skill level as you progress. It's just, these are just fantastic titles, and they're criminally underrated, as not many people mention these when they're going through all these legacy titles. Number 13, Ratchet and Clank: Up Your Arsenal. It's a great title, isn't it? I love the Ratchet and Clank there. You've got the nice childish humour in there, which speaks to the child in all of us. I mean, I feel like this series is grossly ignored and just taken for granted. And I don't know why it is. I don't know if it's because it's got this sort of colourful, almost childlike art style that people just assume it's not the best thing ever because it's aimed at a younger demographic, but I mean, it's just such a satisfying platform with some comedic gold that always gets delivered with this, and it's just a really good, fun title. And it's one of the things that I'm actually quite happy they did do a remaster of a Ratchet and Clank game on the PS4. And if you haven't played that, then you should definitely check that out. It's in for a treat. But Ratchet and Clank always delivers some of the best platforming experiences you can have, so definitely have a check of that one out if you haven't played it. At number 12 is God of War 2. Now I know what you're thinking looking at this footage. How shocking, a God of War game that made it onto the list. But hold on a second, this doesn't look like the God of War that I've been playing on my PS4. Well, depending on your age, you may have missed out on the original trilogy. And if you missed out on the original trilogy, you missed out on an epic story and some of the best gameplay and boss battles in all of gaming on any console, hands down. I mean, some of gaming's most iconic moments come from this franchise, and the PS2 was lucky enough to have this absolutely fantastic game, and then they made this ridiculously good sequel that just builds beautifully off everything the first game does. I mean, if you have not played these games, then you would be in for an absolute treat, and this is an essential title that needs to be on any platform, like a classic platform. It'd have to be on there, no questions asked. Number 11, Ico. Is it Ico? You know, I never found the answer out to this. I'm going to sound really ignorant as someone who's talking about games, but I always called it Ico, but my friends called it Eco. Feel free to correct me in the comments on how you pronounce this, but that's what I'd always called it, Ico. So, do you like epic adventures? mature storylines, maybe some insane boss battles, and then visuals that evoke a range of emotions? Well, if you do, then you're in for an absolute treat, as this is the start of the PS2 life. This word just started to sort of spread about this game, this mystical game that was magical, which had all these twists and puzzles. And the problem with it is, whenever you saw the stuff in the media about this game, there wasn't a lot of information. The screenshots did not look that great. They kind of had all these graphics that were kind of blurry and a little bit, because of the atmosphere around it, there was always stuff in fog and stuff. And, you know, appearances can be deceiving, because this game is a gem, and it was an instant classic when it came out. Ico is one of those titles that is unquestionably have to be on any classic console, and to be honest with you, it's one of those games you just have to play. It is so good, it's indescribable how good this game actually is. And I remember it took me ages to find a copy of this game, and when I did, I was like, oh, okay, cool, I understand, I completely get it. Until you play it, you won't really get it, but again, has to be on a list of the best PS2 games. And if I was making a classic console, I'd have to throw this title on there. So that leads us comfortably into the top 10, so the top 10 games that I'd expect to see on a classic PS2 console. Now, I'm going to get controversial here, because at number 10 I'm going to put on the list Sly Cooper. Now, I don't know how this game gets overlooked all the time by everyone. I just also don't know how this game doesn't have a remaster available, and if it does have a remaster, let me know in the comments, because I'm going to buy that straight away, because it's amazing. This is a perfectly good family-friendly title, and it's somewhat underappreciated mascot for the platform. It's got this fantastic story, this impressive soundtrack, and do you know what? If we're being fair to it, I can see why there's a bit of criticism for this game. It's not the most difficult game in the world, but my word, is it a lot of fun. It's one of those games that once you beat it, you can go back and replay it again and again and again. It's just so good. There's just so much variety to keep you coming back for more. And I desperately want them to do a remaster of this, and they haven't. I have no idea why. At number 9, SSX Tricky. Now, snowboarding is something that, you know, is often not taken too seriously when it appears on a gaming platform. It's always just a little bit cartoony, a bit over the top, and that's probably a good thing for it. That's probably why the games are always so popular, because they're a lot more fun to play. This game in particular was often dubbed as a Tony Hawk clone, and yeah, I mean, I can see why, but I mean, to just call it a clone and not really appreciate what it did for gaming and what it is as a game is really offensive. And you know what, this is a mainstay on everyone's PS2. If you know someone had a PS2, they probably had a copy of this game sitting on the shelf somewhere. It was so good. It was effortlessly simple to pull off the most ridiculous tricks at the flick of a wrist, and it just had this awesome soundtrack to boot as well that just created this great atmosphere. I mean, if you just play this game for a minute, you're going to see why it was so popular. It's just a no-brainer. At number 8, Metal Gear Solid 3. Now, this took the established brand of Metal Gear and the genre and placed it outside of its comfort zone. It's really hard to talk about this game without spoiling it, but there's some iconic imagery in this game, there's some iconic story moments in this game, some great gameplay. The story is just amazing. It doesn't make a lot of sense, none of them ever do, that's fine. It's still an engrossing story. It's got some of the best boss battles of all time as well. I mean, it's also got this weird song in it in the halfway through the game, which is just really catchy and really addictive, which you should just Google to listen to, because it's just kind of fun. Might put a link of that actually in the description, because I remember this. I still remember it now today, that song playing in the background. It was very weird, but it was also very good, so it's great fun. But just, yeah, the idea of playing the other Metal Gears and knowing what to expect, and then them just taking Snake completely out of his environment and making you learn these new things and sort of like camouflage it a different way. It was just groundbreaking and visually striking. An essential game that everyone should play, and it's a must-have on any sort of like legacy or classic console that will be coming out. So, number 7, Time Splitters 2. Now, this is the very interesting game, and how they've not done a remaster of this, I have no idea. For me, this is the best shooter on the entire console. I'm willing to fight anyone on that. To fact, it's such a good game, such an inspirational game as well. You can see a lot of copycat games that came out that stole a lot of the great elements from this game. But this game was a multiplayer dream. This was perfect for multiplayer. It was just amazing. And do you know what? The art style was beautiful. The game was designed in this weird way that if you were a seasoned shooter, you'd have a great time with this. But if you were just someone who just wasn't into shooting, but wanted to pick up and play with your friends really quickly, the controls were simple enough for beginners to kind of get involved and really like have a real competitive match with. But at the same time, it was rewarding enough that if you spent more time with it, there was this great difficulty level that would just sort of be really inviting and open up more aspects of the game to you. It was a brilliant design shooter, easily the best shooter on the entire platform. So if they could remaster a game, by the way, this would be the one to do it. How this hasn't been done already, no idea. Number 6, Okami. This is the definition of a rare game. Good luck trying to find a copy of this game right now that isn't fake or ridiculously overpriced. It is a beautiful title and it's truly a groundbreaking experience. So, okay, right, so you play as like a wolf fighting off mythical beings as you try to like reclaim the earth from like a disease that has kind of taken over the world. I am not doing a great job at describing the plot. It's absolutely nuts and I'm not doing it justice at all, but I tell you what, it is one of the most compelling and engaging and rewarding titles you'll ever find on the console, hands down. If you've missed out on this one, you've just got to go back and find it. You just have to. At number 5, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Now, before they ran the whole brand into the ground and killed it, dug it up and then re-killed it again, the Tony Hawk games were almost flawless pieces of work and they were just amazingly good fun. And this was it. This was the best of the bunch. This was the best in the entire series and it still holds up today. And it was absolutely massive at the time. It had this fast-paced, frantic action, this amazing soundtrack, brilliant multiplayer, including for the PS2 online play. You could play this online back in the day. That's insane. You guys get a network adapter and all that other fun stuff, but you play this game online on a PlayStation 2. That's what? What's that about? I mean, come on, this is just, I don't need to describe this. This is one of the best games on the console. If you've not played a good Tony Hawk's game, just stop what you're doing, find this somewhere, go to a second-hand shop and pick up a copy, or just buy one off eBay, or I think they do it like they do a version on the PlayStation Network or something. Just get a copy, play it. It's your duty to do that. Do that now. It's amazing. It's a really easy game to play, but it's so difficult to master. So, number 4, Grand Theft Auto 3. This is the game. This is the one that started everything. This is the title that's responsible for all the clones and all the follow-ups and all the sequels, and without this, there would be no other games coming out in this new type of genre of this open sandbox type game. This game was the one that sort of set the ground running for mature storytelling and just freedom in gameplay to do whatever the hell you want to do. And it hadn't really been done before, and who knows where it would be now if a game like this did come out. This game is pretty much one of the most iconic games of all time, and it's a game that you just associate with the PlayStation 2. It's one of those things that people made, you could only play this on the PlayStation 2. It was a mental thing at the time. It is a little bit dated now, it doesn't quite hold up as well as you remember it, but that does comfortably lead us into our next title, which is controversial, but we're going to do it anyway. So, at number 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now I know what you're thinking, how can you have 2 Grand Theft Auto games on there? And to be honest with you, I debated about this quite a lot, whether I should even have 2 of the same type of game on here, but the games were so big, for so many different reasons. They are 2 iconic games that everyone associates with the console, so for me, you'd want both of these titles on here. And there's so much to say about this. This is probably my most controversial entry, because you could arguably just say put GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, the whole ship and caboodle on the whole console, because it does really feel like these are PS2 games, these are PS2 titles that people associate with the PlayStation 2. But the problem is that would just clog up entries on this list, and when I really looked at it and thought, the games you can ignore, it doesn't feel right leaving one of them off. And to be honest with you, out of Vice City and out of San Andreas, to see how much the game had progressed on from Vice City, you have to put San Andreas on here. But then at the same time, even though Vice City is a better game than GTA 3, there would be no Vice City without GTA 3, so it's kind of like you need GTA 3 on there. And again, I'm not into the politics of it, I was thinking a lot about the game itself. The game's ridiculous, it's so good. Like, you can get it on your phone now, buy it, play it, done. that's it. So moving on, we're on to number 2, Shadow of the Colossus. Now, some games are just experiences, and this is one of those titles. It is a beautiful experience. This is an era-defining title. I just cannot recall such a beautiful, compelling game before. It was beautiful in this most simply visually striking, like, just amazing title. And it was such a real challenge, and there was nothing really like this before in gaming. We are super lucky that they actually remade this to the PS4, because there's a lot of people that couldn't actually play this game at the time. It was really hard to find a copy of this game if you missed out on the first sort of release section. And it's ridiculous. If you go on eBay now, you can find people selling these games second hand used and damaged for like 60 quid, which is ridiculous. And then people that have it in pristine packets are selling it for thousands. That's mental. But this game is so impactful. It's such a brilliantly good game. If for any reason you can't play this game on the PS2 or you can't find a copy of it, get the remaster on the PS4 because it's amazing, it's breathtaking. It's one of the best things they did for the PS4 is remake this game. So that leads us into our number one game that I'd expect to be on a PlayStation 2 Classic if they ever did one, which I don't think they will, but you know, at this point you're in the list. Yeah. So you can always see it by the video. It's Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. For me, this game is the PlayStation 2. I remember magazines having huge articles about this game, showing off clips and the amazing graphics, like the reflections of the water on the floor as people are walking, what? The lighting effects, what? The cinematic cutscenes, what? All that stuff. This has just not been done before in a game. Simply put, this is a groundbreaking title. It's also a game with two halves, because try not to spoil this, but the second half of the game, it just goes so far left, you have no idea where it's going, and it's a completely different game entirely. It annoyed a huge amount of people at the time it came out. But this was a game that everyone played. I remember at one point, if you knew someone had a PlayStation 2, all they did on it was play this game. This game was the PS2. This game was what everyone wanted to have on the PS2. This game is the PlayStation 2. You cannot have a classic PlayStation 2, if they made one, without having Metal Gear Solid 2 on it. It is that impactful a title. It is easily the number one game that has to be on the console if they ever did the classic version. So guys, that is my list. Really hope you enjoyed it. Sorry I went a bit long with this video, but as you can tell, best games console of all time, it's going to have a long list. These I think, are the best games of all time. Should make that distinction. Probably should have said that at the start of the video, but it's too late now. You've got the end, so wah. So basically, these are the games I'd expect that they'd have to really put onto the actual console itself. If they weren't on there, I'd be disappointed. That is, and the thing is, I know there is this thing about like licensing, so there's a good chance you wouldn't get all these games on there, which is why I left off a lot of the sports titles, because I don't think I'll get the license to them. But there are games on here that I don't think would make it onto the console. And there's things like Manhunt, which I'd love to put on here, but they're not going to put that on a classic console. I just can't see them putting that controversial game on there. But these are games I'd love to see on a classic console if I had my own choice. That's what I would do. But they're not necessarily the best games of the console. The majority of them are, but not necessarily the best games on the console. Anyway, rambling on a little bit. If you like this video, please hit that like button. That'd be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. And also, please subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and reach new people. And the more people we can reach, the better that's going to be. And if you've got any feedback or comments or thoughts, please leave me a comment in the comment box down below. I am getting a lot of spam comments at the moment. I don't know why, but if I haven't responded to your comment, it's probably because you're a spammer or I've just missed it. Most likely a spammer. I had like 17 comments come through that were like, click here to see free videos of like stuff that I'm not going to repeat. And I was like, okay, cool. But anyone who has commented, really appreciate it. Really nice, trying to get to as many of you as I can. So yeah, really appreciate the support from everyone as well. And if you've got any feedback at all, just let me know. That's going to pretty much do it for this one, guys. Have a great one, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.